guidelines for political parties. A lot of people have been itching to know what this will be at the end of the day. Yes, that has been unveiled. Right as to the story, APC panel clears Yewada, Bashiru, 28 others for national convention. And also ADC slashes state, local government, ward nomination fees for aspirants. Now, this story is both on pages 7 and 8 of the Blueprint newspaper, although it opens on the front page here. Another big story here, ICPC arraigns El-Rufai. Court fixes March 31st for bail hearing. Ex-governor's son, Bello, leads protest. And EFCC moves to take over Malami's Abuja residence. This one also opens on the front page here, continues on page 8. Unfortunately, 6 die, others injured in Ibadan petrol tanker accident. And this story is on page 7. Also on page 7, Wike partners Japan to update Abuja master plan. Now to more stories here. 3 killed in KB community celebrating Eid festivities. That is on page 10. Petrol imports drops to $10 billion. Dangote refinery boosts local supply exports. And this one is on page 22. Nigeria requires $100 billion investments to fix power sector, coming from the minister, Adebayo Adelabu. Opens on the front page here, continues on page 8. Now, media, powerful force in shaping perception accountability, coming from Idris here. And lastly is above the nameplate of the Blueprint newspaper. Obi shouldn't have been allowed to contest in 2023 polls. And this is coming from Justice Salami. Read that story on page 6. And that wraps up the Blueprint newspaper this morning.
Well, now moving on to the front page of the New Telegraph, we have APC National Convention threatened as aspirant heads to court over alleged exclusion. Defendants served at party secretariat, given 30 days to enter appearance. Party targets 10,000 attendees, 740 delegates to vote, and Masari leads venue inspection. All of that is covered on page 3. Alleged corruption. Court adjourns El-Rufai's bail hearing on March 31, page 4. Switzerland to return Benin bronzes artifacts to Nigeria, page 27. Middle East crisis. Nigerians will continue to pay more for fuel as oil jumps above $100. Israel, Iran continue attacks as Trump's approval rating plummets, page 2. Power outages linked to nationwide generation drop. That's on page 5. We also have Nigeria hits 6.5 million pregnant women under triple elimination program, page 6. New electoral guidelines will end imposition of unpopular candidates. That's from INEC on page 2. Army strength lies not only in operational capabilities, but also in morale, well-being. That's coming from the Chief of Army Staff on page 7. Major shakeup. IGP appoints new CPs for Lagos, Ogun, other states, page 2. 2027, LP plans Southern candidates to challenge Tinubu on page 4. Nigeria's jet A1 export doubles as 3-week earnings hit 343 billion naira. That's on the front page, continues on page 3. Cardozo seeks regulators' collaboration to tackle cross-border risks, page 8. And that's it for the New Telegraph.
Okay, now to the Al Jazeera Nigeria midweek paper. APC National Convention takes the big lead here. It says trouble looms as contractors plan protest at venue. Now, right to the story, issues 48 hours ultimatum for 150 billion naira debt payment. Also, what is remaining to be paid is 1 trillion naira, says the national president. The story is quite interesting, and it is on page 9 of Al Jazeera Nigeria this morning. Imo Assembly seeks revitalization of moribund government companies for job creation. Page 7 read. And NFF, FCTFA, mourn ex-FIFA referee Sani Zubairu. This is on page 15. WHO recommends new diagnosis tool to end tuberculosis. Read that on page 14. Ahead of 2027, INEC unveils draft guideline for political parties. Draft guidelines. Good. This is on page 9. Yearwater massacre issue. Trial of suspects stalled as defendant slumps in court. The story is on page 9 as well. Sub-Saharan Africa faces economic risk over rising crude oil prices, according to reports. And this one opens on the front page here, continues on page 14. And lastly, from Al Jazeera Nigeria this morning, 4 killed as headers invade 7 Benue communities. Again, in Benue, that story is on page 17. And that's it from Al Jazeera Nigeria.
All right, now to the Daily Global. We have IGP Disu announces major reshuffle, releases list of new AIGs, CPs. APC aspirants urge courts to stop national convention. NPF announces 2026 National Police Day celebrations themed community partnership building trust. How primates Ayodele accurately foretold Colombia military plane crash last month. Troops felicitate with Ungoshe residents at Sala, reassure safety. Police arrest 3 with suspected human parts in Oyo. Ozoro incident. Delta State Attorney General partners police for swift investigation, prosecution. And 2027, a party controlling 31 states can't fear ADC. That's the Daily Global there. And that's the front page of the Daily Global.
Guessing that party is the APC. All right, now moving on to the Daily Sun, and we'll start with the same party convention matter. Says APC Convention Committee clears Yearwater, Ajibola, and Duru. Others also get nod to contest party positions. Aspirants in tweets, 100 million naira suit against party. Now this is on pages 6 and page 26 of the Daily Sun this morning. PDP remains platform to contest 2027 election, Makinde tells loyalists. Read that on page 26. Nigeria was off than in 2023, Baba Ahmed tells Tinubu. Read that on page 6. Federal government targets 31st March reopening of Enugu-Onitsha Expressway. The story is on page 25. And ahead of 2027, of course, Labour Party won't field Northern presidential candidate coming from Ninadi Usman, throws door open for interesting aspirants. This is on page 6. World Bank, why poverty reduction efforts not working in Nigeria? You might want to read this one. There are plans to lift 50 million out of penury coming from the federal government. This opens on the front page here, continues on page 6. And beside the nameplate of the Daily Sun, puts personal interest aside. Mark charges ADC members, says Nigerians looking for organized, principled, credible alternatives. This is on page 26, and that's it from the Daily Sun this morning.
Right now to the Observer's Times, we have court delays El Rufai's bail decision. Next hearing on March 31st, that's on page 1, as ICPC cites serious charges, potential interference with investigation. Charges include conversion of public property, money laundering, abuse of office. Yearwater massacre, trial of suspects stalled after defendant slumps in court, page 6. FG approves 32 billion naira for PHCs nationwide, page 6. PDP confirms zoning as cornerstone of March convention, page 6. Alleged tax evasion, Binance seeks out-of-court settlement with Nigeria, page 7. NCDC raises alarm over worsening meningitis cases in North, page 8. NEMA receives 708 stranded Nigerians from Niger Republic on page 3. And that's the front page of the Observer's Times.
And now to the front page of Daily Assets. Federal government tenders apology over nationwide power outages. Pledges stable supply. Blackouts beyond immediate control, says the minister Adelabu. Power minister blames electricity crisis on gas supply and on pipeline repairs. This is on page 2. EFCC, ICPC bar fangs on political heavyweights ahead of 2027 polls. EFCC restricts access to Malami's Abuja residence. Kaduna court declares El Rufai's bail on 31st, or delays El-Rufai's bail to 31st March. And this opens on the front page here, continues on page 2. Ododo inaugurates ultra-modern hospital in Kababunu. That is on page 21. Prosperity Cup 2026 Correctional Center team secures tickets to next round. Page 5 read rather. And ahead of 2027, INEC unveils draft guidelines for political parties. Page 13. Federal government seeks partnership to relocate urban custodial centers. This is on page 24. A little bit of foreign story here. Sri Lanka issues fuel energy conservation guidelines amid Mid-East tension. This is on page 26. Lastly, from the daily assets is on the above the nameplate. Zenith Bank appoints Okudili executive director. Opens on the front page here, continues on page 2. And that's it from the daily asset.
So the Authority newspaper, we have political parties push for amendments to Electoral Act 2026, describe law as regression below public expectations. Starts on the front page and continues on page 2. Information Minister charges journalists on accountability. Page 9. Enugu Onitsha Expressway reopens March 31st. Page 9 as well. And still on page 9, we have Zamfara. Shetima formally receives Governor Lawal into APC. SCDC unveils $50 million ventures capital program to boost Southeast startups on page 7. First Lady urges stronger action to end TB by 2030 on page 4. Stronger bilateral trade, others top agenda as Shetima, Swiss counterpart, meets in Abuja, page 2. And that's the front page of the Authority newspaper. And that's it for the front pages this morning. We're going to short break and return with business. Stay with us.
This is the newspaper review.
All right, right into the business story is the story from the Business NG. Says Nigeria misses crude oil target by 16.6 million barrels in 2 months. The story is on page 2. Dangote refinery flooded with orders as fuel crisis looms. South Africa negotiates 12-month fuel deal with Dangote refinery. That opens on the front page here, continues on page 2. Now, Nigeria warns drone operators illegal flights could lead to jail and equipment seizure. Page 2 read. Airtel Africa propels NGX rebound as investors gain 1.09 trillion naira. Also on page 2. And Nigeria's FX market sees 45% surge in February amid strong offshore inflows. That is also on page 2. Now, lastly, rights issues dominate as insurers seek certainty in capital raise. This is on page 6, and that's it from the business story from the Business NG and the papers that we've checked out today. Blueprint newspaper, Al Jazeera Nigeria, the Daily Asset, Daily Sun, as well as the business story from the Business NG.
We looked at the New Telegraph, the Daily Global, also looked at the Observer's Times, and as well as the Authority newspaper. And some stories reoccurring on the front pages this morning. Well, looking at first and foremost, 2027 elections, parties are already preparing for their primaries. The APC National Convention, coming up, very soon. And this issue they're having, internally is on the front pages with the National Convention being threatened as aspirant heads to court over alleged exclusion. So that's an internal, matter for the APC to sort out. But if an aspirant, declares their interest to run for a particular office or whatever, I think, they should be given the needed opportunity to do so, and not just be excluded from it. We've seen such issues, happen in other parties and effectively cause, great problems for other parties. Also, another key one, looking forward to 2027 is the PDP coming out to the LP, talking about zoning their ticket to the South. I think it's only the ADC now at the moment that has not really given Nigerians a clear picture of where they're headed, for their candidate for 2027. Even the PDP now has been talking about zoning, which is a critical foundation of the party. So APC, we already know they're going with the president, to continue in 2027, which is, I'm sure, a no-brainer for the party. But it's also key that the ADC needs to let Nigerians know what line they're going to be towing for 2027. And if every other party is going for the South to continue, with the Southern candidates, I think the ADC should be looking, along those lines, because we know a lot has been built in terms of the presidency and all of that. Even down to the governorship, you still see zoning, happening. Different parts of the state is your turn. And all of that. So maybe the ADC might be looking towards that, but that's the only party I think at the moment that has not really shown, what line they're going to be towing.
Yeah, the former Senate President David Markey has actually been playing the card of the fatherly role, if I might call it that, in the ADC, saying, put your personal interest aside, let's find a way. It's as if they're trying to fine tune, get things in order before they come up with that. But what is very important with all of these parties is you need to bring out what you are, your manifestos. Lay the cards on the table. Now is the time to know what the people will do or who the people will look at, the support that needs to be given, understanding your plans, your aspiration. It's a good one. Even though ADC said that, I think yes, it is a Daily Sun that reported that the ADC is saying that Nigerians are looking for organized, principled, credible alternatives. How would you prove that you are in that line for us is another thing that you also need to do. It's already the year. It's the campaigning, the electioneering year. We're already inside of it. So you have to play your cards very well. Prepare yourself with actions and with words for us to see that really everything is in order.
But let's be honest. For 2027 elections, for the opposition, time is not on their side. For them to be able to win the election, in 2027, it's actually not on their side. The APC right now is very comfortable. That's the truth. Truth be told,
it doesn't entirely look like. Yeah, the APC might have the majority,
not the majority.
But when you are seeing this one and two, no. When you're seeing this 1 and 2, a little bit of internal.
Compare 2015. When the PDP was in power, they were not comfortable. The APC was there breathing down on their necks. 24
to a very great extent.
Going into the 2023 elections, the APC did not have a smooth ride. They had the Labour Party with Mr. Peter Obi, running as the flag bearer. You also had the PDP with Atiku Abubakar, who also gathered a whole lot of votes. So they were not, but right now, looking at the opposition, can we actually say that the opposition right now is pressuring the APC? The opposition right now is speaking on the lapses of the party, in power at the moment. Not really, because those parties do not have a clear picture of what their 2027 is going to look like. So time is not on their side. That's the truth. Time is not on their side. The PDP is still trying to sort out its own internal issues. The Labour Party as well. The ADC has not said, which way they're going to go. So it's just what it is.
Well, to a very great extent, you might not really say that you are certain of what things will play out when it comes to the politicians, because some persons have given us assurance on national television, on papers, made vows, I will not move an inch from here. And the very same month, if not just almost few days later, you see that.
Where are they moving to?
I'm talking about the fact that a promise is made in some parties. It's not always kept like that. It's not always as what you see. Some of them have said, I'm not leaving A party to B party.
That's what
and
I'm
then
saying.
you see
Where
that.
are they moving
so when it comes to
Which
them,
party are they moving to?
No, they are moving to the APC. No doubt. When it comes to them, I am not exactly saying that I want to really focus on them so much. That's the point I'm making here, even though that you cannot afford to look away from. But I also want to focus on the fact that the outcome of this election, whether it is going to be successful or not, we have another integral player in our election system, and I'm talking about INEC. Who is prepared, who is following the guidelines. The Blueprint reported that they have revised guidelines, right? And some other papers say they issued a draft of the revised guidelines. We really want to see a thorough implementation, irrespective of whose ours is God. Let's see that this is properly done. This is where our own confidence is. That's what I'm saying. I'm not really putting my confidence completely on these parties. You may be surprised that some card might be played out tomorrow that will probably ask questions. If you see the myriads of
well, at this point in time, there really hasn't been any issues of the defections looking at the APC. I mean, yesterday, myself and Adora interviewed Honorable Tor of Enugu, and talked about how the Enugu governor, came into the party, and every other person has just, let him take control of the party. It's the same thing, with what happened in Cross River. The Senate president has given control to Governor Umar Eno. So that's everybody, I think, is understanding, their place with that for the APC. That's what it looks like, though. But the key thing is, the issue going into the election in 2027 is the voter apathy, which INEC has been talking about. Looking at what happened as well here in the FCT. Like we said, that FCT election was also going to mirror what's going to happen in 2020. And
just imagine the turnout in the FCT.
And then what happened?
Exactly.
The APC had, a swift run in the elections here in the FCT. To be honest, they won most of, the seats available. Now, when people do not come out to vote, in terms of the opposition cannot attract Nigerians to come out and vote against the ruling party, definitely is going to be the supporters of the ruling party that will come out to vote, the supporters of the president, those who think the president is doing, enough to get a second term. But if you do not think the president is doing enough to get a second term, then you have to just come out and vote, and does the opposition give Nigerians a good candidate in terms of, somebody they feel would do things different from the APC? And that's where they are right now, trying to sort out that.
Jukes, to me, these politicians are players in the field. The umpire. You might see the first half, but by the second half, you see this massive. Right? But if the referee keeps crying foul, we have a problem. So I really would want us to, want INEC rather to do the right thing and not, look away or be sentimental by any chance about it. But before we wrap up, just in a matter of few seconds, the Minister of Power says that Nigeria needs about $100 billion for us to invest and fix the power sector.
He's not stepping down very soon again to run for the governorship position. So,
all right, let's
he apologized though, but I don't think apologies is what Nigerians need at the moment. We need good electricity supply. People who work remotely need power supply to keep their jobs. People are losing their job, their remote jobs. So it's not just about apologies.
We need $100 billion.
I mean, if the reports are true that he's stepping down, $100 billion, is he going to be there to oversee that?
And we have been paying for debts in the power sector for a very long time. All the budgets seem to be going towards that round, but we need $100 billion. Let's just take you to the network studio for the news on the hour. His name is Chooks.
And she's Dima.